has purposed. This morning, I have the special privilege of inviting two friends to share a little bit of their story in the middle of their valley and dark pain. We've heard a little of those individual testimonies, and I'm really hoping that next week we'll continue testifying of God's goodness. I want to testify. So let me welcome onto the stage Pastor Dom and Lucy, and as we share in their story, karibuni sana. Please help me welcome them. Pastor Dom, if you'd come this way. Sorry. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Now I feel short. Hi. You're saying hi to fans? All right. Lucy, Muthoni, welcome to Nairobi Chapel, Lavington. You've been meaning to come here for a long time.
Yes.
And then?
I'm very committed to Nairobi Chapel, Ngong Road.
They don't have Team
Stop
Mutungo
sneering.
and Mandazi.
They don't. But you can just go and welcome visitors.
You are welcome to Nairobi Chapel, Lavington. May I suspect you're coming?
Asante.
Asante sana. Pastor Dom, karibu sana.
Thank you.
You have never intended to come and visit us, so it's a great honor that you're here.
I'm honored.
I'm putting you on the spot. So we've had conversations a little about your journey. I've known from a distance some of your life seasons. You want to share your full names, your family story? Well, what you do in profession, a little bit about your family?
My name is Lucy. I am a midwife. I catch babies when they're jumping out of their mom's wombs.
No, you're even better than a midwife.
A.
Yeah, you're a
A.
Starts with a D.
Yeah. They call them doulas.
Yes.
Yes.
And the difference between a midwife and a doula is?
So the midwife is a medical professional. The doula is a lay person. You can be a doula if you can handle blood.
No.
Okay.
No. But one of the things I have appreciated about the doula is that the experience is mostly home-based.
Yes.
You're present. You're a baby whisperer.
Yes,
you're a
and
mommy
a lot
whisperer.
more supportive.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you enjoy what you do, bringing babies.
I do.
How
I love
many?
it. Many.
Yeah, many. You've populated Kenya.
I have.
Helped.
And I've added by populating my own 3.
Okay, 3 ones. Okay. How long have you been midwifing?
I've been midwifing for over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Young parents?
Yes.
Asante sana, karibu.
Uh-huh.
Pastor Don, a little bit about yourself.
Name is Dominic Lukundo. I'm a pastor. That's what I do from Monday to Monday.
Yeah.
And father of 3. 28 is the son. And the girls are 26 and 15 years. Yeah.
Thank you. Lucy, about 7 years ago, your life changed significantly. Before we get there, though, just take us a little back and then move us now to what changed in your life 7 years ago.
Okay, so I got married. I won't tell you at what age because you'll calculate my age, but I got married.
You are young.
I was young and lovely, and I had kept myself for the Lord and for this man. And yeah, I got married. It was a church wedding, and it was really nice. And, we started doing life, and we did life for quite a number of years. In total, it was 17 years. But I feel like the first 10 years were really good, of course, with the usual, marriage issues.
Yeah.
But we were able to handle them. But about the 12th year is when I started seeing these marriages. Is not marriaging. So, of course, you try to do all you can do to make it marriage. And it was not, it was working, sometimes not working. It was difficult. But especially 14 years in, now I could see the end. Like it was really, really dark. And I like to give this story from my own perspective because that is what is clear to me. So I did a lot to like try to rescue it and talk to my then husband and, you know, ask him what's happening, what's going on. But he was also very busy work-wise, and we were both busy. And I just realized, okay, maybe let him, he's being male, sorry guys, and let me just be wife and mother. And I just dived into being wife and mother. And that's when the reality of neglect really hit me, that he was completely neglecting me and was really present, absent. Yeah. So I dived into therapy because I thought, okay, I might lose myself.
So at what point did you think, I need therapy because this is too dark? I mean, you could have gone different directions.
Yes,
Why that
yes.
particular direction?
I was sad. I'm usually not a sad person. I'm very happy, but I was very, very sad. And I started to get physical, like features of sadness, backache, you know, breakouts.
It was showing itself in
Yes,
physically.
yes. And of course, I was very foggy. My work doesn't require me to be foggy. I really need to be focused. And I realized, okay, this is not me. This is just not me. I need help. So I decided to seek therapy just to find out, okay, what's going on? Because I'm asking this guy and we're not getting into talking. So I thought, let me just talk to somebody who doesn't know me and see if they'll pinpoint what the
because it might be a
problem is.
problem.
Yes, I was going in to look for help for me.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to God because when I went to the therapist, the first day, I remember she told me, I know you're here to talk about your marriage, but we're going to talk about you. And I was like, but there's no me without him. There is marriage. We are coming to talk about the marriage. But it was a very good point. And the long and short of it is that she brought out to me that my marriage was out of a trauma bond.
What does that mean?
I had issues.
You had issues.
He had issues as well,
Yeah.
but I had issues,
Right.
and my issues from my probably childhood trauma is what brought me here. Yeah, so that was really brought out in a very nice way. Yeah.
You took some years to lean into that and to begin to unpack. What was some of your recognition about your own person in the middle of this very dark space?
Yeah, I realized that my upbringing was very harsh and rough. And out of that, I had become, in psychology, they like to call them codependents. So I had created some codependency on sort that had made me a certain way. I'd not be, easy to discuss things. I would, kind of be okay and hide things under the rug and try to compensate and cover up and all that. And it had a lot of intimidations within me. And yeah, I was just not being myself. And I would accommodate people, but not objectively, very subjectively. And even then, in my marriage, I was accommodating it in a very subjective way, not objective. So I went into, trying to heal me. Because I remember, luckily, the therapist was also a Christian. She told me, Lucy, you can have 40 more years and be the way you are, or you can have 40 more years and be what you're supposed to be. So she took me through the journey of discovering who really is Lucy, where am I where I am, what am I right now, what can I be? And that was very tough, very, very tough. Yeah.
I know it caused you to get into a crossroad, and we'll come to that in a little bit. Pastor Dom, tell us about your own journey, and then we'll get to why you're sitting on this stool through that unpacking.
I was married the year was 1995.
We weren't born, but yeah.
Sorry. Married for 26 years.
Wow.
And 2021, January, or let's say March of that year, I had to move out of the master bedroom, move to my son's bedroom because he had moved out. He got a job. And For 5 months, I was in my son's room asking God what to do next, because my marriage reached an end, and things that happened, what I did, what I did not do, I don't want to go into that. And my pain was, I believe in marriage, okay? I don't believe this is how things should go, but I'm in pain. It's not well. So for 5 months, I was just doing all I know to do is to pray.
You went into prayer?
Yes, and of course, we took the matter to men of God whom I consider to be my seniors, and it's like we hit a wall. We were sent our way to sort ourselves out. So after 5 months, I moved out. Got an apartment and started life, literally with the mattress on the floor, because I didn't want to destabilize the home or the kids, and I want them to be at peace, and also to be okay. So for those 26 years, we had the best of time. I mean,
you had a good marriage.
I enjoyed. I enjoyed, and of course, issues are there, but I'm a better man now because I was married to her. Of course, I discovered during these 3 years I've been away from that arrangement, I discovered I had issues. Mine were different. My mom died when I was a small boy. So when I was getting married to her, not that I'm not against anyone getting married to an older woman, but I married her. She was older than me. I was looking for my mom in her. So all through our marriage, I was not a leader in the marriage. She was the leader. And I think it affected us somehow because as we were aging together, let me say for me, I was not able to play my roles well because all along I kind of looking for my mom in her. I didn't know. I thought that was love, you know, looking up to her, consulting on everything. I was not
deferring. You deferred a lot.
So I think ultimately it pushed us into very funny positions. And so that's what happened. Yes.
So you shared with me that right after you moved out, you were still in ministry, but you, as a man, were struggling to balance how to deal with all the rawness of the emotions and the reality of your life, that actually for a year you were unable to pray, and you were still going through the motions. So just talk to us a little bit about that season.
Yeah, for 1 year when I moved out, or for this 5 months I was praying, but the moment I moved out, I stopped praying. I was going to church. When I reached the church compound, I will insert the prayer SIM card and pray.
Oh, it kicked in. It kicked in at the door.
Yeah. When I finish church, I leave, I remove the SIM card until next week for 1 year. I was still preaching. God was gracious to me, merciful. I could still hear his voice. I could see him working some things in my life. And he was helping me here and there. But spiritually, I can say I lost my true north. Yeah, in the sense that I believed in God, but I found myself going to funny teachings, not anti-Christian, but let me say we call them in our space, Mike will know, we call it the manosphere.
The who again?
Sasa hapo ni kazi
Okay.
nyingi.
Manosphere.
Just Google, you'll see.
Okay.
These are teachings about men being masculine, and it has some toxic element in it. And I found I was getting more and more angry with women.
Yeah.
I felt they're all bad. Actually, God, why did you create them? And
Pastor, you asked that about God, about us.
Divorce in Kitumbaya. I mean, you should hear a story, but anyway, let me...
Stick to your story. It's already bad. No, I'm joking. So, because your pain was so raw, you just needed answers.
It was, you were looking for answers.
Yeah.
God was gracious because I never went into maybe substances, but I was there fully. Okay, trying to look for why did this happen to me? God, I've served you for all my life. And the only thing I know is that with my wife and kids, we have been together, you know, preaching.
You are a missionary outside the country.
So, is this how you pay me back? And it was like, I was not angry with him, funny enough, but I was just asking questions. For the moment I had time to pray, I'll find myself crying because I could not put them into words. And so that's what happened.
So how many men knew what you were going through and were supporting you and loving you and being in your chama and just...
I was isolated. I became a leper. Literally, in the sense of the word, people did not, some of them did not know what to tell me because according to them, I'm their leader.
You're their pastor.
Some, they felt I'm not fit to be their pastor.
With your marriage not as it should be.
I can't keep my home, or rather command my, as the Bible says, a bishop or a leader should have his home ordered in the right way. There was no one. So even my leaders, whom I considered senior in ministry, they did not know what to tell me. So it's like, wejipange. So I was just literally abandoned.
Did you, so your relationship with God was a little stormy at that point in time. You hadn't stopped loving him. You were just not sure about. Oh, you were job questioning him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there was a breakthrough. Something sort of changed and shifted in that very dark season.
Yes. What happened is that now I realized in this pain, there's something he's doing in my life.
What
Literally,
caused that?
he was stripping me of things and people. And the element of self-righteousness, he had to remove it from me. The element of feeling, why did this happen to me, was like, now it has happened to me, so I embraced my situation. I accepted this has happened. And so I chose not to be angry with him, but rather look at what now can I do out of all this? What pieces can I pick? What can I make of my life out of this disaster?
Men don't know how to process that verbally. They don't know even how to write it down. They don't know how to process it. So were you doing life as normal? Like you'd leave your house and say, hey, how you doing? How are you today?
I was...
And you'd say, I'm fine, thank you.
I was, but I found myself telling everyone my problems, especially shoe shiner when I'm in town. I just found myself telling my problems. The cab guy, I'll tell him my problems, you know. You're on a bike, I just find myself telling my problems. Because just men, but not women, men. Anyway, I find us a place, men are talking, I'll just start giving them my story. And because there were no spaces, no one to talk to me about, I didn't know what's happening to me. I lost weight, I became sick. I developed 2 medical conditions, autoimmune, both of them. I became hyperthyroid because of the stress and also my skin. I developed vitiligo because of the excess hormones, that is adrenaline and cortisol. There was so much high in my system because I was literally staying at home. Okay, my phone stopped ringing. Church members are not looking for me because instead of them sucking me, they sucked themselves and left. So I had no member, I had no one to talk to, so I was just by myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll come to you in a second. But Lucy, you had clarity of what God was doing in your life in that very dark season that you had the recognition that your marriage was irretrievably broken. What were some of those things that you yourself found out God was telling you about who you are?
First, before I even listened to him, I told him to get off the throne. I sat on it and I judged him. Because I was
You're bold.
I know. I don't even know why I was doing that. But anyway, I was like, you know how that question of why do bad things happen to good people? That was my
Righteous question.
able answer. But then I feel like God just asked me, are you really good? And I was like, yes, I am. Look.
I've served you in ministry.
I started at 9 years old. You know, my birthday when I was 9, I turned 18. Let's start there, you know. And I've grown and served you and given my life, And I read him the whole script. And I just feel like, you know, God is sovereign, eh? Like he's God all by himself. He doesn't even need us. So I don't know why we were exchanging those seats, but I'll get the clarity when I get to heaven. But then I felt, like God tell me, look, it's okay. Even Jesus was good. Imagine, and he went through what he went through to save you. Sembuse wewe.
Sembuse you.
Sembuse you.
Okay.
Why not you?
People don't know Sembuse, but they'll get it tomorrow.
Sorry. Yeah. Google.
Yeah, Google
it.
Sembuse.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Chat GPT. So it's like, he was like, why not you? And then he turned it around like, look, I'm not damaging you. I'm actually healing you. I'm actually healing you. So, do you want to be healed? Or do you want to just go, by yourself? And I thought, okay, God, yeah, I want to be healed, but this kind of healing is not the kind that I would have wanted. If I were you, I would have done it differently. But now, because you're God, I will surrender. I'll not ask the wise, and I'll want to know what it is that you're doing in me. And my story is a bit different, because by the time my then husband left, I was already like in a good space as far as healing goes. I kind of went through my own healing while we were in the marriage. So even when he said he's leaving, I was like, okay, what's the plan? I'm sure he was probably shocked, because that's not what you expect when you tell a woman you're leaving. Like, oh, okay, when? Where are you going? Do you have a place? What's the plan? Because I was in a good place, because I felt God was...
had wrestled, literally.
Yes, healing me. And not just healing me for me. He was healing me for others. Which, of course, is not something you want. You're like, this is my life. Why do I have to go through a broken marriage, lose my marriage, so that you can use me to help other women who go through this? But he is God. So that is where I feel like I had a lot of clarity, knowing that God would want to use me even in my brokenness. Yeah.
You were still, as you were wrestling with all those things, and God is speaking to you, and you're seeing the places that he is changing and wanting you to release. Still a mother and needing to care for 3 children.
Yes.
How was all that working out?
It was working. It was working. I felt like, how we are told that women, we put everything in one box, and men are the ones who... Me just felt like a man in a season, eh? Like I could compartmentalize. I knew my kids needed a parent, so I would wear the parenting hat and carry on to take care of them. But I also found that because of what I had gone through in therapy, recovering and healing what I went through in my childhood, I realized, hey, Lucy, you really need to study this parenting thing. It cannot be parenting as usual. You don't want to create mini-yous. So I dived into learning about parenting and started practicing it with my children. So I think that was one of the things that really drove me. I was looking forward to being with them so that I can practice what I'm learning. And in all honesty, it has changed my parenting style and made me a better parent to my children and their friends.
I know you have a wonderful, an enviably wonderful relationship with your 2 sons and daughter. But also, as part of that journey, you wanted your children to find an anchor, a place where they're belonging, even as they themselves deal with the transition of one parent out of the home. And so you joined the Nairobi chapel then, but it was mostly for the children. But in that place, you also found a community.
Yes.
You want to just tell us a little bit about that?
So 2017, is that when the last election was? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, 2017 is when he left. But the year before, because like I said, I had been seeing the signs of the end, I had thought, okay, I need a place where if I'm spiritually not able to anchor my children, they can get a community to support them. And we church hopped for a bit. We were still together, and we found Nairobi Chapel, Ngong Road, and my children completely loved it there. So plugged in. My firstborn went into ropes, and the others went into their little classes, and that was really, really stabilized even before the marriage. Now we were completely separate. And then, interesting, the same year, the Nairobi Chapel started a program called Divorce Care. And in 2018, now that I was completely separated, I dived in and joined Divorce Care, and I found a community. By the time I went into Divorce Care, I had done a lot of work for me. The one thing I realized I didn't know is what to do with everybody else. Because I started to immediately realize that everybody is going through this divorce in their own way.
The children,
So
especially.
the children,
Your
the
in-laws,
relatives, the friends, the Christians, like what do I do when people ask me, so Lucy, you were that couple that was in PMCC the other day, what's going on? Do you know God hates divorce? And I'm like, do I just tell them, yes, I also do. In fact, I'm the admin in that WhatsApp group.
Of the God hates divorce WhatsApp.
Like, what do I say, And divorce care was very helpful in defining that. Like, how do you deal with the in-laws? How do you deal with your friends? What do you do with the children who are asking questions? And that was very, very helpful. So I found myself a community, and that doing that class is where now God was telling me, you see, this is where I was bringing you. And yeah, I couldn't help it. I was immediately a divorce care facilitator and have been for all these years. Yeah.
Wow. So someone came and told you, Pastor Dominic, you need to take a class. And Nairobi Chapel is offering this thing that you had never heard of. Just tell us what happened when you came into that class.
First of all,
or what made you want to even take on that?
I was looking for answers.
For answers.
I was looking for answers. I was in pain. So I was told about it. But because it was just COVID, they were lifting the restrictions. So it was a virtual class online. So we joined by Zoom. It was just a men-only class. We were 7 of us. 4 of us were in Nairobi, 1 in Muranga, 1 was in Germany. It was Germany, and then the other, I can't remember. I think he was in somewhere outskirts of Nairobi. And for 13 weeks, we were there every morning at 7 a.m. And it started giving me some healing, a sense of value, a sense of I'm not alone, a sense that God is still there, because divorce care is purely biblical, scriptures from the first page to the last page. As you interact with God's word, I started feeling like, wow, things are going to be better. My hope was getting restored in life. I was feeling that, I think for the first time as a man, I'm able to define the emotions, because we men, we don't know how to define our emotions. We don't know. Issues like anger, grief, depression, unforgiveness. For us, it's just one big thing.
What do you call it, that one big thing?
Stress.
Yeah. Many stress. just that. It's a euphemism for all your emotions.
Shida mingi. And I came to discover that, so this is how a man feels. This is how a person is. I envy the women, because when you grew up, you knew how to identify these things. For us, mwanaume aliangi, mwanaume asemagi anapitia shida, weka hapo. And so by the time we grow up, we don't know what is this I'm going through. So the feelings are all over. Psychologically, you are unstable, but you cannot explain what I'm going through. So through the divorce care program, I was able to identify and know what I'm feeling now and what I need to do next. Okay? And through that, my journey became better. I was able to unravel that ball of emotions, one strand after the other, and God has been gracious. I mean, the journey has been worthwhile.
At this point in your life, through that support group, through redefining your relationship with God, Him affirming you and giving you healing, what is your perspective on marriage?
I believe in marriage to the fullest. During these 3 years, I will tell you that I officiated 2 weddings. I took the couple through PMCC myself. And I told them what to watch out for, because I have had an accident. So I tell them, pale kuna pothole. Ukipiga kona hapa, punguza speed, Watch out for how you handle each other, how to take care of one another, and how also to have your own identity, though you are married to this person, and how to live a healthy, and they are good, they are well. So I believe in marriage. I believe in marriage.
Do you feel fully healed from the journey that you have been walking in? And how do you know as a man that you said you unraveled, began to name your emotions.
Yes.
But when did you begin to feel God's presence in the middle of that pain and began to see something here, something beautiful is coming out of this?
When I started meeting my son and daughters, and when they come over to my place, and I realize even when I look at Mama or Toto, I don't feel angry anymore, okay? I'm being now more kinder to her. Initially, I was very mad, and she too. And my children were kind of confused, and it's not easy for them too. But as the 2 years, 3 years time has been moving, I find there is that joy when we meet. We are very free in each other's presence. 1st of July was my birthday. It was a Sunday. I didn't do church. I called them, my 3 wonderful children. The small one was on midterm break. We spent the whole day together. And I realized they too are in a good place because I pray for them every day. Every morning, actually, I lead prayers for guys who have gone through DC. We have a virtual prayer group, 4:30 to 5:30 every morning. And through those prayers, we pray for ourselves, pray for our children, pray for our issues. And I'm seeing the results that my children are getting better, me, I'm getting better, and Mama Toto is also getting better. Yes. Because divorce is devastating. It messes everything and leaves, disaster in its wake. You can't explain. But you'll know that, hey, when God says that he hates divorce, it's because it destroys virtually even your sense of purpose. So it makes you feel you have no value anymore. And then if care is not taken, it can push you into a very dark space psychologically. So I discovered in my journey that God has just been gracious to me. In this journey, I also discovered, if you allow me, that because I minister to men, I work with men who are going through divorce. 2 men who are to come, one was to come my way to facilitate him last year. And the day I was being given his number to call him, just for the person to check on him, the man had committed suicide. He burnt himself in a house. Okay, he bought fuel, burnt himself up. This year also, 2 months ago or so, I was just about to be asked, can you walk with this man? And that very day, he committed suicide. He took, I think, sleeping pills, and he died. So for me, my passion has been, how can I help another man? And so far, by the grace of God, I've worked the last 2 years around 80 men through this journey, and now I can say they are doing well.
What's the first thing? What's the first thing you tell a man when you meet him for the first time and you recognize his pain because it has been yours?
I tell him I've gone through that, and they're, Pastor, hey, umepitia hii, yeah. And you're still alive, yes. And then I tell them now, this is my story, this is where I was, this is where I am, and this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I discovered they start, can I say, loosening up, sharing their story, because all men want is to be listened to. They just want a hearing ear.
And it can't be a woman's ear.
No. Actually, they want somebody who can relate to their pain. And when I relate to them, I tell them my story. I tell them, now, this is what you're going to do. It becomes something they can relate with. Yeah.
Thank you. Lucy, you, over the years, have seen the gift of God healing you. One of the things you told me yesterday in jest, and I took it seriously. I was like, wow, is that if I met the two of you, you and your husband, a journey that you have walked.
Don't throw stones at me, but if you have iPhones, especially like 14, it's okay, you can throw. I just realized that I need to be grateful because I got married to this man. If it was not for him, I would not have become who I am today. I would not have known my troubles, my issues, my traumas, my pains. So he was used by God, Son of God, to bring healing to me. So today, I honor him for that. I also honor him for being the father of my children. If it was another man, I would not have the 3 precious kids. And my children are the best in the world. I know you all love your children, but mine are great. Yeah. There would not be those ones. So I thank God for him because we made those wonderful children. And I also just realized he's a human being. he's a child of God. So if I can just go and gotea my wochi, how about the father of my children? You know.
Yeah.
So we are cordial. I am so grateful to God. We are cordial. We will talk. We will be okay when we need to. And I thank God, because for me, that is also a sign of healing. Because, of course, I'm human. And especially that time when I was sitting on the throne and judging God, I was, of course, wishing a truck would hit him and he would die, you know. Or if I met him on the street walking, would I just be fanyati? I was hepaying a boda and I crash him. I went through all that. And then I had to come back to God and say, okay, God, forgive me. Because why would I wish that on the father of my children? They would miss a father. He's also a brother to someone. He's a child to someone. He's a friend to someone. And that is a point that actually brought me to forgiveness and to really let it go and see him as an instrument that was used to make my life better. And today, that's why I celebrate him, and I have no issues with him at all. Yeah.
Some women who may have a hard time processing that. And I know it has, like you've shared, it's been 7 years.
Yes.
I mean, it's not an overnight thing. You told
And
me.
it wasn't linear.
It wasn't linear.
Yeah.
There were good days, there were
Yes.
days you were not sure
Yes.
about that decision.
Yes.
What would you counsel a lady who's going through the pain of a really hard marriage, particularly the opportunity to be in community with others? So I have to say this as a segue, guys. At the Nairobi Chapel, I believe we are the only church in this country that's offering this community from the counsel and the concepts of God's truth. And one of the absolute truths that we say every time we are beginning a divorce care cohort or class is that we absolutely believe that marriage
Works.
is God's absolute design for us, and that he hates divorce. We don't champion divorce. We don't celebrate it. So there's no divorce parties. There's none of that. Actually, the first intention this was brought to us by a partner church, I want to say maybe 10 years ago, who came to us and shared some of their realities that was going on in their world. And we said, this is quickly becoming a reality here in Kenya. We are so ill-equipped because our culture doesn't support it. Here, the church, we always know that, marriage is for life and divorce, God hates divorce. But it's become our reality. So what do we do with this? How do we counsel people out of it? Or in it? Or through it? And they had some really beautiful words and thoughts. But one of the things that they said is, one of the things that a divorce class does is the first thing that we do is ask, is there opportunity for reconciliation? Because most people come into it and we tell them, you may think divorce is the better option, but it not always is. It might end up being the more painful option or the harder option. Is there an opportunity that we can help you as a church, as a community, to reach reconciliation? And this is what it looks like. And so we begin the reality, and we have had several people and couples reconcile after divorce class, from the recognition that, it was this thing that God does in your heart, in your life.
Days ago, we've been studying at Nairobi Chapel, Ngong Road. Is this when I get a chance to invite them to come to our church?
No, they can't come to Ngong Road. No, thanks.
So the pastor was sharing from the book of Hosea, and 2 Sundays ago, but you heard what I said? Okay. He said...
Just turn off her mic. Let's just end our service.
Anyway, he said marriage is made in heaven and lived on earth. So that was very profound, because it's true. It's made in heaven, lived on earth. You have to live. You have to work on it. As a divorce care facilitator, and even from my own experience, one of the things I realize every single time is how selfish and how centric we are as human beings. I just want to see my part. I just want to see how you're not taking care of me, how you're not doing what should make me happy, how you're not completing me, how you're not. But we don't stop to see our own faults. So every time I talk to people who are going through tough marriages, I always tell them, stop, look at yourself. Just look at yourself. On the mirror, yes, but also inside, and see what you're doing. And let me tell you, one of the best person to tell you how really you are, Faith, is a man who's seated towards my left. And sometimes when you don't listen to him, it becomes really hard. So that openness and that vulnerability in marriage to say that, yes, you're not loving me the way I want to be loved, and this is how, I can teach you to love me, I can teach you to care for me, without being selfish, really helps resolve marriages. And I believe in marriage 129%, that, God is in it and he can help us only if we are willing to shed that selfishness and just look at ourselves and look at our partners from a God eye and have him intervene for us. Yeah.
Well, that is their story. And I know there's several of us who have their own stories, but are also in the middle of some real pain. And it's just not the divorce, it's just not death, it's just not financial trauma from what we had from Diana and her husband last week. It may just be life circumstances. And so in October, we actually want to begin to have these forums and conversations with us who are going through tough seasons. A grief you have never resolved that has defined your particular way, a marriage that fell apart many years ago perhaps, and there's still a deep sense of unforgiveness, a deep sense of grief. And so we are inviting you to consider signing up for Grief Share, which is an opportunity to begin to process your pain and suffering against God's word, okay? A loss you had in your life that you have never been able to process. And we are also going to invite, if you're ready for it, to come and hear what it would take for you to go through the weeks of divorce care in a place of a safe place, a safe space, community, perhaps even a leading of what God is going to do, an openness to say, God, I don't know what this would mean for me. I don't know where it's headed, but I want to listen to others who've gone through it, to get your counsel and your wisdom through others. And so October 5th will be our first open day for Grief Share and Divorce Care here, 8:30 a.m. But let me invite you, if you want to be a part of one of those two classes, to please send in your name to the number that's on the screen right now. It's our church number. Just write your name and tell us if it's Grief Share or Divorce Care that you would want to sign up and be a part of. And we will call you in the week and we'll facilitate that. I'm going to invite Lucy and Dom to come out on the 5th and just to continue sharing their stories, and others who are part of this congregation that have walked through this, that have seen God's work of redemption, his work of grace. We want to recognize the pain is real. And God's promises continue to be real. His presence is still real. His promises are still real. But in the middle of all that, how do we process life when it's overwhelming? How do we begin to unpack the haziness of a tough life? And so I want to thank you, Lucy and Pastor Dom. Let's just celebrate them and thank them for sharing so candidly and so beautifully their story.